Good evening, everyone. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the first round of Tier 2 here with Invictus Racing League. After all of the chaos and action that happened in Tier 1 last night, the Tier 2 drivers will be taking over their role on the Tuesday nights to see how they get on under the floodlights here in the Sakir International Circuit of Bahrain. I'm your commentator for this evening in terms of Jack TM53, and I'm delighted to say that alongside me tonight and for the whole of the upcoming season 22, we've got ARL, who was racing last night. How are you doing, mate?
Yeah, no, all good here, and nice to be back for another season. Bring on season 22.
It's going to be fascinating. I'm really looking forward to tonight's action. We always know that in Invictus Tier 2 is always a feisty session. There's lots of action going on. We've got 19 drivers in the lobby, I believe, at the moment. I think that is pretty much it. We're ready to get going in just a moment. Only Maras not racing tonight, but it's great to have Maras back in the lobby. We haven't seen her for a couple of seasons, not since the F2 mini league, but 19 taking to the track tonight. ARL, obviously, you raced last night, and there's a couple of drivers who are watching who are taking part this evening. Would you give them any advice, or would you just tell them, no, get on with it?
Well, it's early days. Technically, we've not even kicked off the season yet for Tier 2, so I'm not going to give too much away. But it's a 8-race season, so I mean, there's it's less than what we had last season, but there's still plenty of points up for grabs. So I think the drivers will get their groove in bit by bit, and to start off at Bahrain, it's been notoriously well known to be an amazing track for action. And I think they'll test the waters out here tonight, and at the end of it, we can start to see who's going to really be up there fighting for this championship.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. And there's a couple of names who have come down from Tier 1 from last season who are certainly going to be hoping to be part of that championship fight. We'll talk about those drivers in a little bit, but we have got 8 races, like ARL said, for the season ahead. So we're starting tonight at Bahrain, next week we're at Barcelona, then Suzuka, Las Vegas, then after that we've got Austria, Azerbaijan, Monza and Singapore. The 8 races ahead for the season 22, and a mixture of street circuits and I'd say purpose-built tracks gives it a nice blend for the season ahead, I reckon.
Yeah, and of course it's just a nice blend for the season. There'll be a mix-up. We'll see one race weekend where a driver really struggles potentially, but then the next can be completely on the other end, and that's the beauty. It can fluctuate so much. When you look at a track like Las Vegas, that incredibly long strip. Lower downforce type of track, but then we potentially, we had Suzuka the week before where downforce is key. Getting that S section right is so crucial. So a whole complete fluctuation of tracks here, and then ending it off, with Monza and Singapore, low downforce versus extremely high downforce. So it really carries the whole shebang, really, and that's the beauty of it, because you can't be fast at just one track. It's going to be over the whole course of the season.
Yeah, I expect there's going to be some fluctuation in driver performance throughout this season because of the way the nature of the circuits are. We are about to kick things off, so the loading screen ticks over to multiplayer events. A couple of comments in the chat room just saying, good evening to Bjorn de Boer. Stephen has said evening chaos and then put chaps even, but I think he was right first time round, to be honest with you. And good evening to Sir Spud as well. So we've got great action in front of us. We saw a lot of battles yesterday up and down the field in the Tier 1 race that we had, and with this circuit there's effectively 15 corners that the drivers have to navigate, and still, by the way, Aaron, I don't know if you're aware of this, but De La Rosa still has the lap record 20 years later in that incredible McLaren MP4. It would have been the 22B at that point, I think.
Yeah, no, that's it's kind of a shock to hear that, but
Mm.
no, that's the reality of things. But yeah, no, it's been a while, but we've been racing here since what 2004, I think, Formula One.
Pretty,
If I'm
yeah. I
not
think the
wrong.
first race was '04. Yeah, it was Schumacher, I think, who won that day.
Yeah, so this place has just been incredible for racing, and it's such a thrill. It's such a thrill.
No
Oh
way.
my word!
No way. Have you ever seen the likes? I've never ever seen this. At Bahrain, we have an intermediate surface because it's coming up on the timing tower for me. I'm sure you'll be able to confirm this as well, IRL. But intermediates, I think it rains maybe less than 10 times a year in that region of the world.
It's incredible because I can speak from that
Yeah.
region of the world. I mean, all I'll say is we've not had proper rain for like at least a year, so this is a shock. But ladies and gentlemen, if you're seeing inters out here, don't worry, you're not seeing something completely wrong. This is what it is. So that's incredible.
It just reminds me about 2 or 3 seasons ago. The only other time I've seen this is when we were racing at Saudi Arabia, and we had a full wet race that day for the Tier 3 drivers. Matty Rudd is the first driver to go on an exploratory lap. I don't think any driver will have ever done wet weather practice around Bahrain. I just can't imagine it.
No, it's not a norm for rain to be here. I mean, there's always a chance anywhere you go, but this is going to be nearly an unknown territory for probably all 19 drivers, because this is just normally not how you go into a race like this. But the thing is as well, all these drivers are going to have what is a typically dry setup. How is this going to work? Maybe some with a higher downforce package might well here.
Yeah, it's a good point actually, because with the way this track is, it is a mixture of low downforce setups versus high. You do see some drivers trying to run a little bit lower, but I think that'll penalise them here in tonight's race. Especially, well, I can't imagine the race will be wet, but you just never know at this point. But for qualifying, anyone who's running that higher downforce setup are going to be in a really positive position. I'm just seeing drivers out on circuit going around. Matty Rudd will be the first driver to set well, you'd assume a provisional lap time, but you never know with intermediate weather and green tyre wall Pirellis on. It might be a little bit different. ARL, do you want to take us through his lap, or shall we watch the chaos?
Well, let's do both. But
Go on.
yeah, no, I don't know how to comment on this because this is completely unknown. But here we go down the main straight. Obviously, the first is the DRS location, but not really able to use that now into turn one. Watch out for that right-hand side tyre. Don't lock it up. Now the traction's so important to get out of 2 and 3. Up the crest he goes. Again, the second DRS zone out, not enabled due to the conditions. Coming up into turn 4 though. Try and pick your braking point, try and rotate that car, get the throttle as soon as you can without lighting the rears too much. Keeps it well within track limits there. Now we come into the S section through 5 and through 6, a little bit wide from 5, but nothing to hurt him on this first banker lap. Into 8, sorry, very easy to lock that inside tyre, but the more trickier corner coming up here through 9 and 10. Watch out for that inside tyre. Don't lock it up. Oh, they slice through there, but he keeps it with track limits, so that will be fine for now. Deploy as much power as you can on the third detection point here, but again, no DRS. Swoop to the right-hand side. It's going to be a long left-hander. Take a little bit of curb on the inside, not too much on the outside though, but he keeps it nice and clean. Up the hill he goes, back through into 12, and then come up to the sector timing. And as he is the first driver so far, we won't be able to see a delta, but now deploy the power down for which is the second of the last straights here. And he's just got to wait until he picks his final braking point again. Don't go too wide, don't compromise the exit. It's a relatively short run to the line, it's not too long, but he'll deploy all the power he's got, all the ERS he's got. And he sets the first lap time of the season. It's a 140.8, and that is a time around Bahrain in the wet conditions.
Well, I appreciate the insight onto that lap because that was quite challenging. Madman comes over the line with a 41.3. There's an Alpine coming up, and it's our reigning champion from Tier 2. Hulkenberger doing a 39.8, a second clear. But track conditions will continue to evolve in this session. Ginger Tiger going into third place on the road. We've got two of the Mercedes actually lying astern, but I think it was Berra going across the line. No, Stephen, I think, is going to put a lap time in. He does, and that's a 42.1. We don't have any information on the conditions, so everybody's out on circuit IRL. So I'm assuming that these weather conditions are going to stay.
It's either going to stay or potentially get worse.
Yeah.
It doesn't look to have lightened up that much more, but what we will probably see in this session is quite a big wide spread of the field with lap times on these first runs, because it just really is diving into the unknown. And how much risk do you put on this first lap? As now Ken goes faster, 1:39.7, but that's the thing. It's going to be such a wide spread of drivers because some are going to take more risk than others. But yeah. I think we've had, 10 drivers now setting a lap time, but we'll wait for more.
We are darting into the unknown. There is a Haas out there, the only Haas in the field tonight, which is It's the Cat. Good to have him back. One of the Ferraris coming across the line. I'm going to say that's Matty Rudd. He's just going on to another lap. One of the beautiful things actually about having the intermediate conditions is that the drivers can fuel the car up for a couple of laps. Intermediate tyre wear is nowhere near as bad as slick weather running. So the drivers can have a couple of stabs at this to see how they can adapt to the conditions. Going down this straight towards turns 3 and 4, though, it does look like it's a little bit heavier with rain. So I'm just wondering, are we going to see any further improvements? But then O'Stephen's just gone up to third, so maybe we will.
Yeah, it's quite difficult to tell. If I'm being honest, the track doesn't look that much wet with standing water. So from that aspect of side, it's okay. But like I said, if there's more rain coming, as now Pars, is it Pars, I believe?
I'm going to go with Pars, yeah.
Pars sets a new provisional fastest lap, 39.7, but the gap very, very small up front as he gets out of the way for another drive. But one man I think we must comment on, and I believe he's starting it up, is JPH, also known as Jordan. Was in the commentary box last season. This time he's in a McLaren, so I think it's only fair we give him a lap on board.
Yeah, why not? He's on a lap right now. He's navigated the first sector. As It's the Cat goes fastest, an incredible lap time from the Haas driver. Jordan just coming into turn 4, a little bit tentative on the braking into the right-hander, just deploying a little bit of throttle mid-corner and then building up through the gears. For the left and then the right here, it's important to not run too wide. Jordan does miss the apex on the right-hand side, but the left is okay. Spot your braking zone then down into the turn number 8, and that's a really nice and neat line, but a kick of oversteer on the exit, just showing you how challenging these conditions are. The difficult braking point, as ARL mentioned, is here at turns 9 and 10, and this is a very tentative lap from the McLaren as he builds up to speed. Battery, of course, deployed down the main straight. No DRS because of the weather conditions. He's going to brake just before the 150 metre marker on the left-hand side. I think Jordan is not using all of his battery at the moment. I think he's still getting sighter laps in as he goes around the right-hander. 2 effective corners left to go. He is improving on the lap. He's 1.6 seconds up, but definitely more time to find as he cautiously treads through turn 13. One last braking zone on this circuit, even though there's 2 more corners to go. And you can just see, for JPH as he winds into the corner, his battery was increasing with charge. So he certainly wasn't pushing flat out, but it still could be an improvement of lap time for him. And it was, but it was an invalidated lap time. So I wonder if he's just seeking out the conditions. But whilst I was talking, ARL, Hulkenberger has snatched his pole position back provisionally by about 5-6 tenths of a second.
Yeah, no, that's he's really trying to kickstart this season on a high once again after last season. But that's the beauty of the inter conditions, because you as well tend to use much less battery in the wet conditions. You just simply can't deploy as much power, but that does allow you to go on more back-to-back runs.
Yeah, it will do. And I'm watching Berra just snaking his way around the left-hander at turn 11, now the turn 12 right-hander here. Just having a look at his delta, he's 1.4 seconds up, so conditions are improving. So Spud was saying, actually, in the comments that he can't see any spray, so maybe the conditions are going to potentially stay the same depending on the confidence levels of the drivers, whether they'll improve. We'll have to wait and find out. But Berra is on track to improve on this lap. He'll go up from 14th into the top 10, right in front of his teammate of O'Stephen on a 139.874.
Ferrari's looking well up there, P2 and P3, so far team effort wise is only doing very, very well, but the question is, can anyone try and challenge Oldenberger from that time? But the thing is, we hit a point. Oh, as Pars now actually goes faster, 38.6, so you do see that the track evolution is starting to become more and more, but the rain doesn't seem to have let off. But maybe this is just more deploying down rubber maybe on the track. Could be potential just track evolution, or maybe simply the fuel burn is giving a better response in the car, and obviously a faster lap time.
It looked like a slightly drier line on the exit of turn 1. It could be, of course, the way that the visuals work in this game, but it certainly looked more confidence inspiring. Ruddo is 6/10 up on this lap. That's why I'm watching his lap with key interest here, because this is an important one. 6/10 at the moment as he slides out of turn number 8 would put him right behind Pars and Hulkenberger. So he's got to make sure he spots his braking zone down at this left-hander at turns 9 and then 10. This is looking like a really, really tidy lap. It's changing all the time, actually. It's really, really difficult to monitor who is where right now, because I was looking earlier that Madman was inside, as Clips, this is a point proven ARL, Clips wasn't inside the top 4, and now he's just gone fastest of everybody.
Yeah, so that's a clear indication that it's really starting to ramp up. Bear in mind though, he's on the newer set of inters, so we could see drivers now come out on a final run and maybe do 2 or 3 laps. There are 6 minutes to go, so that's very possible. But he said that on the newer inters, hence why he's on pole. But he must have done a brilliant lap as Ruddo now comes to the line. What has he got? He goes second, just shy of that pole position. But of course they're very, very close, so track is ramping up.
Yeah, it definitely is now. I'm looking towards turn 1. I'm just looking at the... It's really difficult to gauge because you can see the rain falling down. Maybe the track temperature is what is causing the difference here. Maybe it's still quite warm. The rain's not really having an impact. So it's just a case of the drivers can put the power down. So Spud is now out on circuit. He's on a flying lap. And you can see how he gets on with this effort, but at the moment he's got Mikey and JPH in front of him on a 43, and then the rest of the field are just a bit further up. In fact, there's, like you were saying before, IRL, there's quite a big split in the field between Clips in first and Lionel Griesby in 16th place, who I know quite well, and I know that he's pushing with that lap time at the minute.
Yeah, no, it's I mean, I don't know if this is me bringing this curse, but poor Racetech saying it always seems to be raining here too. If it's my fault, I apologise, but I do it for the entertainment point of view. But yeah, no, you could just see the field completely spread out. But up front, a few thousandths of a second is all it takes. But I'm surprised that in fact, actually now Ken goes faster, 37.7. So,
Stonking effort.
Up even more, yeah.
I mean, I was alluding to it before that this is changing all the time. We just praised the Ferraris being right up there, and they're now 3rd and 8th, and it's the 2 Williams at the front of the field. But like you mentioned, ARL, Kent is on fresher intermediates. Not as fresh as what Clips were, but still, he's still going to have an improvement in grip there. I'm just looking at the rain. It does look thinner, but... You know, I'm not a weatherologist, a meteorologist, you know what I mean? I don't know, unless I was out there on track myself. There was one of the McLarens coming towards the line. It's JPH. That's a bit better from the McLaren. He's up to 18th and relegates the director of IRL to 18th place at the moment, as Hulkenberg now goes fastest by 700ths of a second.
This could be crucial though for these final stages of qualifying to try and get your lap time as late as you can into the session, because it seems to be that it might not look it with the rain, but the grip on the track seems to just keep on improving. So potentially the last man to set a lap time will probably have the best of the conditions, as I think it's the Cat who goes into 6th place for the Haas team.
Really good qualifying effort actually from It's the Cat. It's definitely the most competitive we've seen from him so far. Oh, Stephen and Madman going into the pits, so they've got time to go out and do one more flying effort, but puts a little bit of pressure not only on the pit crews but also themselves, as Sir Spud flies through turn number 13 there and went a little bit offline. I don't think he'll mind sitting at the back, well, Sir Spud, to be honest with you. I think he's just going to try and avoid the chaos at the start. And Darrell is well in 15th place. He's not on a flying effort, but drivers starting to leave the pits now. Less than 2.5 minutes remaining in the session. This is crunch time, really, for a lot of drivers who are on their outlaps. They'll have one or two laps, maybe, I think. I mean, Matty Rudd will have 2 laps.
Well, we've got 2 minutes. Yeah, it's tight. It's possible, but I mean, you want to have the best conditions at the end, so maybe go for a slower first lap. I mean, you can push on these intermediates. However, do you maybe want to prioritize it all on that final run at the end? That's the question. But I think, who's that? That's the Martin starting his up. I think that's Nitro Gas going down into turn 1. And it is. So, how much grip has he got out of 2? A little bit hesitant on power, but keeps it nicely in check. Now deploys all the ERS before hitting his braking point into 4. Just touches the apex nicely there, gets on the power, rear really in check, so he's keeping it nice and safe now. Through into 5, through into 6. Car is so far handling a little bit of sliding, you can see from the rear end, but okay so far. Don't lock that inside tyre, and he keeps it nicely done. Touches a bit of a curb on the outside, but that's okay. Now into the tricky corner, and it looks to be all controlled for Nitro Gas, so that's good stuff. Deploy again the power and all the RS you've got. He's got 50 seconds till the timer ends, so he could have another lap here if he has enough battery left, but he's going for it on this one here. A little bit hesitant on the throttle, and we'll see what his sector time is. And he's currently up by over 7/10, so that could move him a few places. That could actually move him quite up. He's got a car in front of him, I believe that's a Red Bull, but he's going to hopefully get out of the way. But Nitro Gas is going to have to try and make it up here, pick up a bit of a slipstream as he heads into the final portion of the track. And he'll move up to P8 at 38.9, so 9/10 faster on that lap for him.
Yeah, he'll be really happy with that one. That was a nice solid lap. Whilst that was going on, checkered flag flies. Matty Rudd moved himself up into P3. Darrell moved up to 12th, but he's got time for another flying effort. Just looking to see which of the Racing Bulls that was going to come across the line. It's gone into the pit lane, so it's going to be the Williams of Clips Kiri, who smashes in a lap time that's half a second almost clear of Hulkenberg. So we come then onto the next driver who would be setting a lap time, which would have been Mikey, but he's invalidated his lap time. So it would be the Aston Martin of Ginger Tiger, Ginger, Nitro, Ruddo and Kent, 4 of the drivers that have come down from Tier 1 into Tier 2. They've acquitted themselves quite nicely so far, but you'd expect Ginger Tiger to have a good qualifying effort here, and that's more like it from the Aston Martin onto the 3rd row of the grid. So nice effort from Ginger there.
This is hurting Hulkenberg. He's on his final run, but in front of him is O'Stephen, who's also on the lap. He doesn't have to get out of the way as long as he's on the qualifying lap, and this is hurting Hulkenberg as we'll come up to the sector line, and he's struggling for pure traction and grip, and he's actually a 10th down on this lap, staying behind that Mercedes in that dirty air. So crucial and it looks like I don't think he's going to be able to improve. And if he does, that's not going to be able to get him up the field. Or can it? Can he get on the front row and deny Ruddo that front row start? But he has to deploy and everything he's got through here. Oh, Stephen will finish his lap. He moves up one place. Hulkenberger doesn't improve.
And that is that for qualifying. So Hulkenberger, his spacing between himself and the Mercedes didn't quite work out. It's cost him potentially a shot at pole position. But Clips Kerry, the host of the lobby, the admin of this lobby, he'll be delighted with a pole position to start off season 22, and by 3.5 tenths of a second, which, to be honest with you, is a really encouraging lap time from him. But of course, we said it before, race conditions could be completely different. Are we seeing the drivers with higher downforce being rewarded in qualifying?
You certainly get rewarded in the qualifying, but as well in these wet conditions. But yeah, no, Clips Kerry though doing the work, and he's on the pole position mark. But he's got Ruddo alongside him going into turn 1. Behind them will be Hulkenberger and Kent, followed by Matty Rudd and Ginger Tiger. Pars and It's the Cat. P8, I think more competitive for It's the Cat, so some promising signs for him with O. Stephen and Matty behind. Nitro Gash and Madman, followed by Bearer and Daryl. Then Bruce, Liner Grisby from JPH, Mikey, and Sir Spud, the only driver not starting or not completing a timed lap.
Yeah, we saw Spud going off the road a couple of times. So I think he was just trying to feel out the conditions more than anything else. But I think if he's starting from the back, he's probably aiming for a dry race, which we'll get confirmation of in a moment. And there we are. So just the qualifying session. I mean, looking at the sky, IRL, I'm going to assume there's no rain inbound. I think we've probably had it for the year in the Sakir region, to be honest.
Yeah, look at that beautiful blue skies as the sun sets. So yeah, no. if we have rain in the last portion of the track, I don't know what's going on with this. But yeah, no, different conditions now. 29 laps ahead, and yeah, crunch time. But one thing that will be potentially on the driver's radar is, of course, being a wet qualifying. That meant they did not use any of the dry compound, and specifically the softs. So could we see some soft running maybe at the start, or more as we get later on in the race?
Yeah, it's a really good question. It's a really good point you've raised, because that tyre allocation will completely shift everything now. So the drivers are going to have to think about whether a one-stop is viable or a two-stop is viable. And if you're going to try a two-stop, can you incorporate the soft tyres into that? We'll have to wait and see. A couple of drivers who've commented, a couple of people who are part of IRL have been commenting and watching so far. So hi Mikey, you should be focusing on the race, matey. Bjorn saying it's not a curse, it's a blessing. Aaron saying great to see Hulkenberger back again this season. Sorry I couldn't join you guys for another campaign. It is a shame, Aaron, we'd love to see you back. But he is loving the commentary, and hopefully some fireworks into turn 1. Hopefully they don't fire them across the track. I know that the the pyro gauges are pretty well set for the finish lines around the Sakir region. Paul Racetech saying soft, medium is potentially a strategy for the drivers. What do you think about that, Ira? Because you obviously have the experience of having done this race last night. Do you think that's a valid option?
It is. The mediums, I won't lie, the mediums held on pretty well. I don't have the experience of the softs in race conditions. Of course, when you decide to use the softs is up to the driver, but using it at the start when you're under higher fuel loads, that could maybe be a bit tricky to deal with. But, you know, it's all I can say is the mediums and the hards were pretty good, and good pace tyres, and longevity wise they did very well. We obviously had a mixture of strategies, the one stopper or the two stopper last night, and usually whenever we bring a two stopper to mind, it usually tends to go that way, because of course on this game DEG is significantly increased, but surprisingly around here it was pretty nice to try and do in was stopper. So yeah, it of course depends on the drivers battling it out. These fights will determine how much wear they put on and how much stress they put on these tyres. So, but a soft medium could definitely do it.
I was just having some postulations in my mind whilst you were talking about that, because I was thinking if anyone's starting potentially in the lower reaches of the top 10, would it be worth them starting on the soft tyre, getting the advantage of the grip going into turn one, trying to make some opening lap overtakes, pitting early, doing quite a big undercut to maybe jump onto the medium tyre, run that for a number of laps, go to the hards to the end, but they'll be running counter strategy to everyone else and running in clear air, because if they pit early with the softer compound, they could be out of the DRS train and not getting held up by potentially a slower car in front or any battles that are going on around them. I think that's an idea for maybe one or two drivers in the field.
Yeah, no, it definitely offers an offset to that, but as well, more importantly, that undercut is extremely powerful, and using that to your advantage can really help you jump a few places and potentially protect you, because of course you have that DRS down into turn one, you have it out of 3 into 4. So if you are maybe a slightly faster driver and having that DRS behind you, against you basically, it could make life very difficult. But by pitting early and getting that clear air and not having to focus on everyone else and just running your race can really help you move up these positions. I'd personally love to pit in early and get that track position, but we'll find out now as the drivers have selected their tyres, and 4 drivers on the softs.
So we've got Matty, Rudd, Madman, Lion agrees bit. So the two Saubers have decided to go all Birkenhead and have picked the red-walled tyres for those two. Madman on the soft as well, which doesn't surprise me with Aaron. I know that he's someone who will try something a little bit different, but Matty Rudd is probably the best positioned of the drivers on the softs, I think, to try and make this two-stop strategy work if they decide to do a soft, medium. There's possible race strategies on the board there. They're actually saying a 3-stop is somehow involved in all of that. I don't think that's going to be valid. I think it's going to be a 2 or a 1-stop, to be honest with you. O'Stephen is on the hard tyres, as is Berra, and Sir Spud at the back of the grid. Everybody else is on the mediums. And now we're going to get the chance and the opportunity to see who's going to get the best start here for season 22, and can Clips take a first race victory in what has been quite a long time for him, but certainly one that he deserves.
Yeah, no, it's he's got 29 laps to try and make it work, but down to turn one is going to be where it's so important to try and keep that Ferrari rudder behind. But one thing I was noticing, you have the Williams and the Ferrari pair very much up there in this fight, but the Williams both going on the mediums. However, for the Ferrari, they've split their strategy, so would that be maybe a strategy call? Try and have one of the Ferraris go on that soft and potentially force the other driver into an uncomfortable position, maybe? That could potentially be on the marks, but we'll find out now. But yeah, the hard runners as well, we want to have a look at those, because how much pace early on the higher fuel runs do they have? Do they have the grip? So all will be revealed as we line up for the first race of the season. And look at that, Clips Kiri pointing that car as much as he can to the right hand side to completely cover off Ruddo. Ruddo pointing a little bit to the left, but Clips has got his eyes on one man.
He does indeed, as the last two cars pull themselves into position. Mikey and Sir Spud are lined up. We've got a green flag flying in the back, which means we're about to get underway here for the first race of season 22 in Tier 2, the 5 red lights. Come on, here at Bahrain. And the race is live here at Bahrain. It looks like a little bit of a wheel spin start for Clips, Kiri and Ruddo's alongside them as they approach turn one. On the brakes they go, down through the gears, and it looks like Clips is going to try and hang it around the outside of Ruddo. Can he defend going into turn 3? He can, but the problem he doesn't have the same traction, and Ruddo's alongside him. Kent is trying to help him out as a teammate, but I've got to say, Clips is still defending. Hard into turn 4, and Ruddo backs out of it, and Clips leads the way. Kent trying to shadow his way through. Hulkenberger's there in 4th place. Then it's Ginger Tiger, and it's Pars, who's had a good start. He's up from 7th place. The debutant, and Matty Rudd has got a time penalty, but that seems a bit peculiar. He's off the road.
Yeah, disaster for Matty Rudd. It's gone from bad to worse as he's dropping the field now side by side with Darrell. In fact, Darrell could get the run on him, and he does, but they're going side by side, coming into 9. Who's got the advantage? Matty Rudd has the inside line, so he stays ahead, and he stays clear of the Racing Bull, sorry. But that's not been the start the Ferrari driver wanted, as Pars gets through in the head of Ginger Tiger. They go side by side, and we're wheel banging. Nitro Gas gets through on his teammate, but Pars up to P5, and more importantly, at the front of the field, Ken into P3. Ruddo stuck in a Williams sandwich as we come to complete the first lap.
Oh, what a frantic start that was, but the top 4 as a result of Pars and Ginger Tiger, and to be honest with you, Pars didn't have the best of exits at the final corner. Those 4 at the front have got a little bit of a gap to 5th place Red Bull, and that's the other Red Bull going into the pit. So Matty's got an issue. He's diving into the pits now, but Ruddo is going to be up against it. He's got 2 Williams either side of him, and he's going to be the only Ferrari in this fight thanks to his teammate's unfortunate start. There's battles further on the field, but Ruddo having to defend from Kent as they go into turn 4. Kent looking around the outside. Can he try and dive underneath? He looks to do so. There's a yellow flag out there. Something peculiar has gone on where that car went slow. It's actually one of the Mercedes. Berra's gone all the way backwards, but Kent's under heavy pressure, or rather applying heavy pressure to the Ferrari in front of him.
Yeah, Ruddo is having to look in his wing mirrors more than the Williams ahead. But he did get quite close to Clips Kiri into turn 4, and of course the help of the DRS. And they both get it here now, but that basically gets cancelled out to Ken.
Bit of wheel banging between Matty Rudd and O'Stephen, who was a little bit annoyed by that overtake, but he was down the inside, was the Ferrari. I'm sure if there's any issues, the stewards will have a look at that one. The 2 Racing Bulls are in the top 10 and 11, I should say, and Bruce has had a great start. He's up from the near back of the field. He's in 12th place in the last of the points positions. It's the Cat has had a bit of a nightmare start. He's gone down 5 places. We didn't see what happened to Berra ARL, but he was the cause of the yellow flag in sector 1, but he was off the road at a really odd place in between the DRS zone. Not sure what happened to him, but he's in 18th at the minute.
Yeah, no, it's not gone. A little bit of wheel banging into turn 1 on the first lap with Berra, but nothing really to justify why he's down into P18.
Side by side.
Yeah, Ruddo having a look now, but here comes Ken. Kent's going to go for it. Kent on the left-hand side. He will be able to swoop round, and he does, in fact, get ahead before, but he outbrakes himself, and the Ferrari snatches back that 2nd place, and he's back into P2. But Ken, he's going to have to do all the hard work once again. But what this is doing now is bringing Hulkenberger and Pars to the back of this fight.
Yeah, that's a frustrating one for Kent. He got the move made, and then sadly just locked a front right tyre, and off the road he went. But he's still there in 3rd place. He's still being a nuisance, which he'll take delight in. That title is a yellow flag for one of the Saubers. That's Mikey, who I think has had a spin going through turns 6 and 7, but he's back out on track. I can't tell if he's got any damage thanks to the unique camera angles in this game. But at the minute, these 7 drivers at the front have got themselves into a little group thanks to the infighting between Kent and Ruddo's pulled everybody back together. I think that was It's the Cat going past Bruce then for 12th place at turn 11, and it was indeed.
I'll have a look at Ruddo though. He's quite close to Clips Kiri. Once again, Kent not getting a great exit. He's going to have to look maybe behind him. But this is now Ruddo's opportunity to try and take the lead. He's got the DRS. You could see the recharge from the Williams of Clips Kiri, and Ruddo just stays behind. But in fact, Hulkenberger gets through in the head on Kent. Down into turn 1 he goes, and he's up ahead. And this has not been the last 2 laps for Kent, because this is not where he wants to be. But what about Ruddo? Can he try and get the lead here? He's having a look on the inside. They're going to go side by side into turn 4. A bit of wheel banging, but Ruddo just ahead, and he should stay ahead, and he does. Ruddo now takes the lead of the Bahrain Grand Prix, and more importantly, new race leader was Clips Curie.
Oh, and he's just caused a lot. He had a massive slide through the corner. It's actually allowed Pars to go up the inside. There was a bit of wheel banging between everybody, but Clips lost the car mid-corner, which allowed Hulkenberger through. It's going to allow Kent and Pars to fight into turn 10, but in truth, I think the Red Bull is going to go off the road. And where's Nitrogash in all of this? Well, he doesn't get the traction he needed. He's going to have to sit in 6th place, but these two are still side by side. The Red Bull's going to try and go all the way around the outside at turn 11, and he does complete the move. So a combative overtake from the Red Bull. So the debutant for this season, he only signed up today. He is in 4th place, but he's having a sterling effort so far in the Tier 2 lobby. The two Aston Martins are still right there. Matty Rudd has climbed onto the back of this group, and I've got to say, ARL, O'Stephen is doing a fantastic job on the hard tyres. He's just outside the DRS, but he will be in the right place for later on.
This, I was actually going to mention this 2 laps ago, but it's just been improving more and more for him. He's now not far from this fight. But in fact, now more importantly, into turn 1, Hulkenberger takes the lead off from Ruddo, and he is ahead and away. But now DRS switches. Ruddo has the drag reduction system. Is it enough to get by? He's going to go and have a look, but it's not enough. Hulkenberger slightly locks up into turn 4, but that won't be enough to get Ruddo ahead.
Well, those two fighting hard. The former Tier 2 champion against the current Tier 2 champion there, having a big fight over the championship standings for the first race so far. It feels like a precursor to what's going to come for the next 7 races after the one that we're currently on. Clips is just about hanging on to DRS here. It's really vital for the Williams to stay involved in this fight, because we've now got a 9-car train, and I think Mikey has gone off the race. He's in the gravel actually, so Mikey needs to dig himself out of the sand pit where he's been playing for the last couple of corners and crack on. But at the minute, those front two have just gapped Clips, and if that is going to be the case, it's going to be a difficult way back for the Williams to catch up to them, because he's now got Pars all over his rear diffuser, and it looks like he's not going to have DRS on the activation line just there.
Yeah, no, I don't think he does. As we come up to the detection point, does he have it? No, he doesn't. So he is going to be nearly defenseless from Pars. Pars should probably get this done nice and early, and he does well before the braking point. He gets up into the podium positions, but now roles reverse. Clips Curie will get a dosage of that DRS as well. He has quite a snap on that rear, but he keeps it going the right way, but that's not going to help in his fight on Pars. This has really not gone the way of the Williams drivers in the last 3 laps here. It's gone from bad to worse, as O'Stephen is now fighting with Matty Rudd, and O'Stephen gets ahead of Matty Rudd and into P8, and this is really going well for him.
Yeah, he's 6.5 seconds off the leaders. Those two were on the back of that train, but I don't know if they've had a little bit of a battle or something has occurred, because they were both in the DRS train there, so they've lost a little bit of time. But O'Stephen is in the perfect position right now. This is going to be looking positive for him. If he decides to do a one-stop strategy and the other guys around him might eke out a 2-stop, he's going to be in a very strong position come the end of this race. But the front 7 are off and away. Well, I say the front 7, but there's a split between Pars and Clips now. So fragments starting to appear in the field. Madman then leads the next set of cars with his teammate, and it's the Cat just behind. Bruce isn't too far away in 13th, so Spud's having a good time in 14th on the hard. So the hard tyre runners who started on that compound have had a good time. Berra aside, we don't know what happened to him, as Ruddo is going to go down the inside.
Yep, that'll change for the lead, and Ruddo gets ahead. This is going to be important, as now Kent actually gets ahead of his teammate. So maybe team orders will just simply saying I'm faster than you, and he gets ahead of his teammate. But this is important now. These drivers all on the medium tyres, so the undercut, the moment one driver comes in from this group of cars, can really shake it all up.
Yeah, it absolutely can. It was what I was talking about before in terms of the DRS trains. If they start holding each other up, Clips is struggling with this tyre wear. He's having a few slides around this track, and I feel he's leaning towards a 2-stop here. Look at the traction. He's got absolutely none as I ride on board with Nitrogash, it just seems that Williams is spending a lot of time sideways. And yeah, he's actually got a good exit there compared to Nitro, just to being a personal affront to my comment just then. But still, this is proving to be a really open race. O'Stephen's still right in the mix. Mikey's got a time penalty for speeding in the pit lane, so a nightmare start, and he's retired in the pit. So Mikey having all sorts of chaos. The director will return to his pit box and inevitably help out his teammate, who made the first regulation pit stop of the race so far, did the Sauber. Lionel Griesby, the first to make a conventional stop, and he started on the softs, let's not forget.
I hope that we can clear this yellow flag, because Hulkenberg very close to Ruddle, and it does go green, so all opportunity for Hulkenberg to retake the lead, and he does well before the breaking point. What about behind though? O'Stephen jumps up a few places. It's Kent into the pits, so is Ginger Tiger. So that's the crucial bit now. What does that mean for the front runners who've stayed out as Kent goes into a set of hard tyres? That was important for Kent because he was struggling to keep that car on the road. And now he'll come out potentially in clear air. Will it be clear air? He's got Jordan coming up into turn 1.
Oh, that's a very awkward line, that, wasn't it, from Kent?
Yeah, it might be alright though. He might not be able to have to fight. Will he?
I think
No,
he should be okay.
Yeah,
He should be okay.
But how fast will those hards kick up? But it looks pretty well on O'Stephen, can't lie, as Nitrogas looking all over the back of Clips Curie.
I think Clips is the one who's...
Oh wait, no, yes, Clips is the one
struggling
with the rear. Yeah, so actually it was the other way round. So Clips Curie stayed out. So Kent may be looking at the front runners here. But I'd be amazed to see how long Clips Curie has got on these meets, because he just doesn't look to have any traction.
No, he's having a struggle. It looks like the rear of the car is rotating a lot quicker than he wants it to. I'm just watching him as he goes into this final braking zone. It's not so much the braking that he's having issues with, it's the traction. And look, he's going over to the right-hand side. So Clips and Nitro make a pit stop. So that promotes O'Stephen up into 4th place. I just want to get a time on O'Stephen. He's 6.5. He's keeping up with the leaders as Pars. Whoa, big slide from Ruddo through turn number 1, but the Red Bull moves up into 2nd place. Ruddo's going to try and fight this one back, but he's not going to have DRS, and the Red Bull on debut is absolutely flying. He's up to 2nd place, but Hulkenberger will be delighted to have that little fight scrap out behind him, because it's giving him a little bit of a breather, maybe for the next lap or so. But having said that, Pars is already back under a second for a moment.
Yeah, Pars has really come alive in this second half of this stint here, as Matty Rudd gets a penalty, 3-second time penalty, so easily done. 3 warnings, and that's a penalty coming your way. But Pars is in DRS range of Hulkenberger, so Hulkenberger is going to have to start looking in his mirrors, because there will be a charging Red Bull soon behind.
I have to question, as the side-by-side between DXT Matty overtakes Lionel Griesby for 16th place. I have to question Matty's 6 seconds worth of time penalties, because he had 3 seconds worth within the opening 4 corners. I wonder if he'll take that to the stewards later on, if he's deprived of any point scoring positions, because it does seem a bit peculiar that he's got so many time penalties already, but we'll see what happens there with that. The 2 Aston Martins swap places. Nitro went in front, and Ruddo's got a time penalty for speeding in the pit lane, and that is going to curtail any chance of a race victory, unless there's a safety car. But nightmare for the Ferrari.
Yeah, the question is he on a 1-stop or a 2-stop? If he's coming in again as well, he will have to serve that in his penalty box, or his pit box, I should say. He doesn't serve that now, of course, only picking up. The question is, where does he come out ahead? He's going to be ahead of Ken, and he is quite enough ahead, but bear in mind, Ken might have closed up a bit on that lap. Oh, Ruddo having a little bit of a rear oversteer there, but nothing too dramatic for him. But what about the front runners of Hulkenberg and Pars? They weren't too far ahead of the Ferrari drivers, so they might be thinking of coming in quite soon. And in fact, Pars has been slowly but surely gaining on Hulkenberger, so could we maybe see trying to go for an undercut on Hulkenberger?
He's having a great debut, isn't he? Number 87's absolutely on the limits here. He's really, really putting in a good display so far. But Hulkenberg's not the reigning champion for nothing. He's sat in the lead and he's just pushed that gap out just over a second. So Hulkenberg may be pushing because he might be deciding to make a pit stop. We'll just see as he comes into these final 2 corners. I know that it's 1 corner typically, but the FIA decides otherwise. Hulkenberg in the pits. Pars carries on.
And as well, he carries on with a nice dosage of DRS down the main straight. So that's definitely going to be nice for him to go into turn 1 without any car ahead of him. The question is, what are the drivers going to go for? The one stopper, as of now, is a potential for the drivers if they pit now. Or are they prioritising getting use of 3 compounds potentially? We'll see, but O'Steven now, he moves up into second. He's on the hards. For reference, he's done 11 laps, so he's not... He will be an important one to look at, because how long can he take those hard tyres? And basically, how well do they last?
The other thing that's just happened whilst we were watching is that Hulkenberg has emerged in 5th place. He was in 6th, but he had his teammate kindly get out of the way. So Sir Spud will be acting as a nice rear guard for the Alpine team as Berra runs incredibly deep at turn 8. Hulkenberg on the medium tyres again, ARL, so he's committed to the 2-stop here, whereas everybody else is on the hards. So this is where the strategies are all fracturing and splintering out here. And I think Hulkenberg is going to get Barra before we get to turn 11, which he does indeed. So it is an interesting dynamic right now. Hulkenberg is in front. Ruddo is going to go around the outside at turn 12 of IRC Bruce. I'm sure they'll have been well aware of that. And I think Kent forms his way past as well. So Kent moves up to 8th. But Kent has kept with Ruddo. And that undercut from the Williams has played dividends because he's right with the Ferrari, who he can just be towed along by.
Yeah, no, that'll be important for Kent. He's back in this fight. It's a gap, only 3/10, but the Ferrari ahead of him does have DRS. And the Ferrari looking on Sir Spud. He's going to go down into turn 1. In fact, Spud is going to fight this. He's not letting Ruddo get off with this easy. A little bit of touching with the front wing to the rear axle. But that's all fine, and he gets ahead. But now here comes Kent on Sir Spud. They're side by side. But he doesn't make any of a fight with Kent. Much easier with Kent potentially than he was with Ruddo. But now Kent right on the back of that Ferrari.
I think Spud knew the game was up there with Kent. I think he was on the outside line and 7-lap older tyres. Probably wasn't wise to fight too much, especially on the outside line of that corner. I'm just watching the gap between O'Steven and Pars has actually come down in the last few laps since Pars took the lead of the race. And it's the Cat is in 3rd, but that's not going to be the case. Is Hulkenberg going to be close enough? No, he isn't. So it's all up in the air, ARL. It's so tight between the drivers who've now made a pit stop. But we've still got to factor in, what are the front 2 going to do? Are they deciding to do a 1-stop? Because even though Ruddo and Kent pitted earlier, you'd expect Kent to do a 2-stop considering he pitted a lot earlier. But Ruddo, he's still in that he can decide what he wants to do phase, isn't he, of the race?
Yeah, no, I think with the likes of Pars, he's now committing to that 1-stopper by staying out so much longer. He's basically having to do that now, because if he tries the 2-stopper, he won't make full use of the tyre compounds. As I think someone into pit, it's the Cat. So he's coming off those mediums. But Pars has done well to keep these, 13-lap-old mediums? So,
yeah.
Not bad. But Kent gets ahead of Berra there.
Yeah, Kent ran deep into turn 1, which is why I had that inhale of breath then. And then they banged wheels through turn 2, but Kent's got the move done. And he enjoys the status of being a fly in the ointment, does Kent, and he thrives on that a lot compared to other drivers. And he's doing that right now, but he's got to stay within DRS of Ruddo here to have any chance at this race win, realistically, because Hulkenberg, we know, has got to stop again. Kent, he's got... I think it's unlikely he'll take those tyres to the end, but no doubt he'll inevitably try. He'd have to do 16 more laps, which means that he'd be on 21-lap-old hards. Is that possible, ARL? I think it's a tall order, isn't it?
It's a challenge. It's the thing is how much stress do you put in these sides? Because if you start battling away, you really are taking that opportunity of doing the one stopper out of the window. And the problem is with Paz, he's taken these mediums 13 full laps.
And he's in the
So
pits.
regardless, he does a one stopper as well. Paz will have much better tyres than the likes of Ken and Ruddo and Hulkenberger. But Hulkenberger, we know obviously he has to come in again as he sets a new fastest out of 31.4. But the question is, where does where does Paz come out? He's coming, can he get out ahead of this Aston Martin fight? And he's just ahead, but the DRS of Nitro Gas might be a helping hand here. He will get a DRS, but has he got enough pace to try and get clear? I think Paz is safe on this one, right? But now this was an important first stint for Paz, and he's done the tough stuff now, and he needs to start to get on with it. But he needs to make the tyres last though, but he's done that very well from the first stint.
Yeah, he does. He's 10 seconds behind Hulkenberger at the moment. So that's interesting as Clips fights with Berra. He's going to try and go around the outside at turn 10. This is brave from the Williams all the way around the outside. That's a fantastic overtake from Clips Kiri to move into the top 5. His teammate directly in front of him as Berra scrambles on those 13 lap-old hards. But that was a lovely overtake from the Williams. You don't see anyone going around the outside of 9 and 10, but he managed to do that. The car still snapping with oversteer, so Clips facing some issues and Paz trying to go down the inside at 12, but I think Berra was a bit wise to that and shut the door. But this it's just giving Kenton Ruddo a bit of breathing room from Paz, because he's got that tyre offset in the Red Bull. He's got 4 laps fresher tyres than the Ferrari, but he's now 7 seconds behind the Scuderia driver. It's going to come down to DRS, which Berra will have on Clips Kiri. So this isn't going to be an easy overtake for the Red Bull. He's going to have to work something out.
And he doesn't, in fact, get ahead. Oh,
Berra's done it again.
Though. He's gone deep and he's forced him to have a poor exit, and now Paz gets ahead. The better traction, better launch out of the corner, and that's a slam dunk move for him. Now he's got Nitro Gas on the back. Nitro Gas is going to go for it into 10-4, really outbrakes himself, and he somehow doesn't make any contact. He didn't lose out on any place, but he went for it there as we have a DNF. Who is that? That's Lionel Griesby in the pit lane retirement, and that is both Kick Salvers out of the race.
Yeah, nightmare.
Nitro Gas having a look now. He's got so much better traction than Berra, and he gets overtaken once again at the 9 and 10 section.
Yeah, this time on the inside. He was, well, he was on the inside for his last lap overtake that he got done over, but unfortunately, it's happened again. Now, I'm just looking at the front here. The gap has come down between O'Stephen and Hulkenberg. It's now 3.8 seconds. O'Stephen will want to try and stay in front of the Alpine, because I think for O'Stephen, he's going to try and pit in the next 2, 3, maybe even 4 laps. And if he can stay in front of Hulkenberger and then have an undercut on fresh tyres, he might be playing himself, and whisper it, playing himself into podium contention. I've seen O'Stephen get 1 podium in my time of IRL. I'm sure he's had them earlier than this, but it was at Abu Dhabi a couple of years ago. And that was a great event for him. He finished 3rd that day. Right now, though, he's really playing himself into contention. It just depends how Ruddo and Ken and Paz end up later on. That's going to be a key difference. And there's a yellow flag. Who's that? Is that Berra, I think?
I think it is Berra, yes, out of turn 3.
Yeah, he's dropped down the order. He's trying to do a 1-stop, but I think his tyres are crying quite a fair amount now. But not ideal for him.
Yeah, I think O'Stephen is not only just putting himself into podium contention, I think this could be a win contention.
Yeah.
Because Hulkenberger has to pit again, that's a fact. Obviously O'Stephen needs to make his first stop. But if it was to happen now, O'Stephen is ahead. So O'Stephen's done some really good lap times here that are good enough to stay ahead at the moment. Of course, Hulkenberger charging down, but Hulkenberger needs to be a bit more aggressive if he wants to make a two-stopper work, but at the moment, Stephen's doing very well on those hard tyres. But the question is, when does he pit? And in fact, now, he does pit. So he answers that question nice and early, breaks much before the pit lane limiter. No risk of a penalty there, and he will snap on a set of mediums shortly. And there are mediums ready for the Mercedes driver. Nicely done. Gets out of the pit box, and where does he come out?
So this is an important one now. Is he going to come out with his teammate? Because if he does,
should be ahead of Spud, I think.
Yeah, is he going to be alongside Madman, which is less than ideal? Yeah, he is. He's not going to be in front of Madman, so there's a car he's got to try and work his way past. Everybody else is a bit further up the road. So, for O'Stephen, whisper it, ladies and gentlemen, if he's in the fight for a race victory, he's got to show something that we've not seen from him before, which is race win tenacity. Which would be great to see, because there wouldn't be many more popular victories than this if O'Stephen were to pull it off, to be honest.
Yeah, no, this could be important, but the thing is, he needs to clear the cars. That's the beauty, though, of staying out for the likes of Hulkenberg, because he's obviously in that clear air. He's building that gap to these cars and essentially making himself have a nice pit window to come out and be in clear air. But O'Stephen needs to make these moves nicely, but he doesn't have enough speed on the Racing Bulls of Madman. In fact, actually, his teammate is somewhat giving Madman a bit of a helping hand with the DRS. So Berra is actually not really helping O'Stephen out here, but I imagine with the pace difference of those new mediums, it shouldn't be that long. It's all Berra having a little snap there. But again, O'Stephen, is he staying behind? He is. So this is hurting his chances. In fact, the Racing Bulls are having a little bit of a look into the final two corners, but nothing does it. But now the traction of O'Stephen gets the better of it, and in fact, his teammate Berra dives into the pit lane. Both drivers having DRS though, but O'Stephen well clear of Madman.
So O'Stephen moves up the field. Whilst that was happening, Pars got past Kent for third place on circuit. We're still yet to know what the strategy is from Ruddo. Of course, he's got that 10-second time penalty to combat with, and Pars is on a one-stop 2. But the difference for Pars is that O'Stephen is on medium tyres. Pars isn't. He's on hard tyres, which will be a little bit slower. You got Kent and you got Clips. The two Williams are actually going quite well, despite the awkward couple of laps they had earlier on where they were sliding down the field. They have still put in some good race pace. Nitro's in 6th place in a Ferrari, well, Aston Martin sandwich with a Ferrari as the meat in the middle. With Matty Rudd and Ginger Tiger there. Then O'Stephen's got a couple of laps now where he's going to have some clear air in front of Madman. It's the Cat is inside the point, as is Darrell in the other Racing Bull. But for the rest of the field, there are still more pit stops to come. We just don't know yet who will be the ones making the pit stops in the top 8 outside of Hulkenberg, who hasn't really pulled away from Ruddo, who's in the pits.
Yeah, but this is the problem now. He's going to have to serve that 10-second penalty, so this is going to feel like an eternity. So he's not going to have it on his race time at least, but it could potentially put him into traffic. Although actually looking at the track map, I think it'll come out into nice clean air as long as he's ahead of, which is Bruce, Spud and Berra, I believe. Those 3 cars.
Yeah, he should be okay.
So he's going to come out into a nice gap, but that 10 seconds is going to hurt him heavily.
Yeah, sadly for Ruddo, it has taken him out of the equation. I'm just waiting for him to get up to speed. We can get the delta between himself and O'Stephen's the one that I'm trying to track. So, yeah, he's 19 seconds behind O'Stephen. So, Ruddo has ruled himself out of the fight here, and O'Stephen is going like the clappers and is right behind Matty Rudd and Ginger Tiger. I mean, it all comes now down to Pars and Hulkenberg, really. Those are the two drivers who we watch with earnest, because Kent, we don't know if Kent is going to be able to manage that one stop. He pitted even earlier than Ruddo. You'd expect him, inevitably, if Ruddo's gone in the pits now, to go in as well. Clips, Nitro, Matty, I mean, it's all in the balance with 10 laps to go, and I'm getting very excited, ARL.
Yeah, I think out of the top 7 to do a one-stopper, I think Pars is in the best
Yeah.
Best case scenario, he's only had 5 laps. For the likes of Kent, Kapiri, Nitro Gas, they all have 10, 11 lap old tyres. They have another 10 laps to go. That's going to be a tall order to ask, but here comes O'Stephen. In fact, actually, that gets a whole lot done easier for him. Ginger Tiger bolts into the pits, and he is going for a 2-stopper for the Aston Martin. But O'Stephen, though, at least starts to close on Matty Rudd, and actually could get a great opportunity down into turn 4. He now has to get the traction right, and he does so. Now the DRS has a helping hand. Use the ERS, the battery recharging on the Ferrari, and this should be slam dunk, easily done. He does get it quite easily. Matty Rudd trying to do what he can, but not much going from the 12-lap hold hards. But O'Stephen now into 6th. This is important. The gap to the leader for him, 19.5 seconds to Hulkenberger. Hulkenberger having to make another stop here. So that is an important thing. As Nitro Gas actually gets ahead of Clips Carey through 9 and 10.
Clips is going to get the traction though out of that. I was watching it actually as it happened, but Nitro was down the inside, and the Aston Martin returns to 4th place despite the traction shown by Clips, which is the first time we've said that during this race, that Clips has actually had traction coming out of the slower corners. But this is the next step now. We know that a stop around here is about 21, 22 seconds. Hulkenberg is in the pits. This is the point I was going to make. Clips, who's in front of O'Stephen at the moment, O'Stephen needs to find a good couple of seconds here. Oh, and Kent's got a time penalty. So Hulkenberger goes to the softs.
Can he get ahead though of Matty Rudd? Sorry, not Matty Rudd. It is Matty Rudd. Can he get ahead? No. So he's got 2 cars ahead, fighting on track position here. But crucially, what's that gap to O'Stephen? It's around about 4 seconds.
3.2.
So, but he is on the soft tyre. The question is, how well will the soft run? We haven't really seen the soft go well in the first. Bear in mind heavier fuel loads, but they didn't seem to last that long. But bear in mind though, last few laps of the race, how much can he close by? But O'Stephen up into 3rd. And that's going to go very well, but Matty Rudd 1.3 behind him. In fact, as I say that, Hulkenberg has taken a big chunk just out of this first sector alone. He's within DRS range now of Matty Rudd. He's flying on the softs.
So is the question more not the fight between Hulkenberger and O'Stephen, is it the fight between Hulkenberger and Pars? 13.9 seconds. The gap between the Red Bull and the Alpine. Hulkenberger is absolutely hunting down what he wants to be a resumption of his title defence with a victory here at Sakhir. It's the Cat, actually, by the way, is running in 6th place, and he'll be going to the end. So the Haas driver very quietly has moved his way through the field. He's had a great race so far and is potentially on for a top 8 finish. Whether he can stay in front of Kent and Ruddo, it's going to be difficult to do as Nitro makes a pit stop and Hulkenberger will move into 3rd place. So the only car that will be a resistance to him moving forward between himself and Pars is O'Stephen, who is having the greatest race I've ever seen from O'Stephen, and it should be called as such.
Yeah, no, he's really, really done well from that first, and he's showing it here in this hard run. But Hulkenberger now 1.3 off O'Stephen. The question is, Hulkenberger might be looking at Pars for the fight, but can he keep these tyres going for another 8 laps? That's going to be a challenge considering how well Pars managed the first stint on the mediums. So now he's on what is better tyres to go to the end. Does Hulkenberger have enough to try and get it? But he needs to clear O'Stephen immediately if he wants any chance. And he's now within DRS range of O'Stephen, and he has that rear wing open to his advantage. And he'll close up to the Mercedes. But will O'Stephen put up a fight? I'm sure he'll try his best, but it might be a bit difficult to do that.
Yeah, it's going to be a challenge. I'm actually just watching Pars as he comes across the line because it's important for us to keep an eye on the lap times. There are a couple of close fights, but the closest one outside of those two at the moment is between Nitro and Clips. There's a 132.8 from Pars in the race lead on those 9-lap-old hard tyres. Hulkenberger firing up all the jets as he burns the battery, and it's a 131 flat. He's nearly 2 seconds quicker than the race leader, and he moves in front of Stephen for second place. 2 seconds a lap, nearly, quicker than the race leader. 7 laps to go. 14 seconds. In theory, if he keeps that pace up, he would catch him, but it's all about whether he can.
Yeah, he's going to need the best laps of his life. That's Hulkenberger, but if any man's going to try and do that, it's him. There's a reason why he's champion. Oof. And he's going to have to show it here tonight, but he's bringing that gap now just under 11 seconds. But he might have the pace himself, but does he have the pace left in the softs to go that extensive on them? It's certainly a tall order. But yeah, it's the cat now side by side. In fact, with it's the cat having a look. He's on the inside, going through 9. He stays ahead, and it's the cat up into 4th place, but actually gets a poor exit there. That gives Kent an opportunity, and Kent's got DRS. But in fact, here comes Ruddo as well. Ruddo might get It's the Cat here, and he does. It's the Cat dropping down now to P6, having a look on 4th, but that's not worked out well. Kent moves up into 4th, but bear in mind, he does have a penalty to his name, which is 10 seconds. So that's a challenge. Can he clear that from the 2 drivers behind?
He might be able to with It's the Cat because he's on 10 lap old tyres, as Hulkenberger does a 1:30.4. He's absolutely flying along. He's 9.2 now behind the race leader. Stephen, I mean, he's in 3rd place. He just needs to continue at this pace. He's doing a really strong drive. Kent is going to be under pressure and actually overtaken by Ruddo into turn 1. That's a nice clean move. I was also, whilst you were talking ARL, I was watching the brilliant fight between Nitrogash and Clips through turns 1 through to 4. It was a great little fight between the two of them, kept it nice and clean. But it ended up with Nitrogash staying in front of the Williams. And Matty Rudd is also fighting with Barra, who goes through for 10th place. He's still recovering, Barra, from whatever happened earlier on in this race. Down back the inside goes the Ferrari to try and regain the spot inside the top 10. Barra goes off the road, and I think he's going to have to concede that one. But that's a lovely attempt at a switchback, but he lost the traction over the curb, and the Ferrari remains inside the top 10.
Yeah, this will be a fight, but that brings us Bud into this, potentially into the mix. But now Barrow will get a helping hand of DRS. So can he give what he's got? In fact, actually, Matthew are getting a pretty good launch. How did that turn head? So this could be a good fight on our hands for the top 10 fight. But yeah, no, this up the field. In fact, though, Ruddo, he's got Kent right behind him. So one Williams driver fighting the Ferrari once again in this race. It's not gone Williams' way from the start. It's not been how they wished it would have been. But anyway, they're trying to make amends for that now. Kent moving alongside Ruddo. He's got the inside line. Is it enough? The braking of the Ferrari maybe slightly better, but in fact Kent lets off the brake pedal and he gets back ahead of Ruddo. And now can he keep it though? Ruddo having an amazing traction out of turn 3. And that swoops back ahead of Kent. Kent now right behind the Ferrari. Just Kent nearly pushing the Ferrari along. And you have to sit back once again, does the Williams driver. But a nice little scrap going on here. As this has been going on, the gap is 7 seconds between Paz and Hulkenberger. I mean, 4 laps to go when we next cross the line. This could be very tight.
Yeah, whilst that was going on, I just caught the end of Ginger Tiger and Clips doing synchronised sliding through turn 4 as they battled through the corner side by side, but Ginger getting past the Williams, so Clips, the pole sitter, has moved down the field, unfortunately, so maybe his qualifying efforts belied the pace that Williams actually has. Pars up 6 places from his grid slot. I'm just looking at the lap time, 33.5 from Pars on that lap, a 32.1 from Hulkenberger, 1.4 seconds. Times that by 4 and that'll give you 5.6 seconds. So at the minute, Pars is doing enough for the race victory. Despite Hulkenberger's gains, I think those tyres have reached maximum velocity, is what I'm going to describe it as Kent re-overtakes Ruddo, who I think will just try and get a good exit out of turn 1 again and nail his DRS up towards turn 4. But don't think he's got close enough this time around. What about Nitro? He will get past it. It's the Cat, it looks like. He's alongside him. DRS is open. And up into 6th place, you'd feel the the Aston Martin gets through. But it's the Cat having a great drive today. Really nice to see him up there having a good fight with everybody.
Yeah, no, he'll need that as well. Try and boost his confidence from last season. So, you know, every point matters, and a drive like this will definitely go well. Yeah, so hopefully see what we can do later on in the season. But back up at the front of the field, 6.1 now, the gap. Not really enough, I'd say. I think Paz has done everything he needs to do, and I think a lot of that's helped from that first stint going so much longer. His hard tyres are only 13 laps old, so they're not really that bad. So I think he's taken all the pain first stint, and that's helped for this moment in time.
I've been watching the lap time, so Hulkenberg is just getting slower and slower. He's still quicker than Pars, but it's a 32 flat on that last lap. Pars did a 32.6, so only 6 tenths gained, and Pars is on his way to an Invictus Racing League victory. Although he got it all wrong out of turn 4, he ran over the exit, well crossed the line, but hasn't picked up a time penalty with that, thankfully for his case. Oh, Stephen is comfortably ahead of Kent and Ruddo. I mean, I'm delighted for him, actually, to be honest with you, just to put personal feelings out there. You know, he is somebody who has improved, especially with this game. He seems to have just gelled with it really, really nicely. And last season he was putting in some good performances and scoring some decent points. But today he is absolutely drove brilliantly, and turns out where he started back in 9th place was actually the right call. Starting on the hard tyres, kept it clean. He's on his way to a first podium in over 2 seasons.
Yeah, no, it's nice to see this. Nice to see this drive. This is going to be incredibly uplifting for him. He's done an incredible job in keeping it clean, keeping it calm, and just staying out of all the trouble, but closing up in the first few laps has really helped him out to get a podium in, like you said, what, 2 seasons?
And you'd have to go a lot further back than that for the last time he had a podium before then. I remember his 3rd place that he got back in Abu Dhabi was as a result of a car in front of him. The commentator who's talking right now getting a time penalty. So to have it on track and to celebrate it without any issues ahead of him has been brilliant, as Ruddo gives us a little bit of on-track entertainment on this penultimate lap and gets past Kent for 4th place, but Kent runs into the back of him. Not ideal for the Williams driver. It's a good job we've not got full realistic damage, otherwise he'd have broken front wing right now. The Williams is going to look to the outside, but Ruddo defends the middle of the road. This is going to rumble on for the last 5 and a bit miles.
I think Kent had enough of seeing that IBM sponsor in the back of that Ferrari. He wants to push it along and get ahead, but no, Ruddo at the moment, he's got an answer for everything that Kent is trying to get through. But bear in mind, of course, Kent does have that penalty, but it's nice to stay ahead of the driver despite the penalties, because you never know. Sometimes, of course, these could maybe get decided after with the stewards. Like I think Matty Rudd, in fact, on lap 1, going 3 wide into 5 and 6. That's why he picked up a penalty there. So that could probably get removed. Yeah, no, it's always better to get the position done on track. But at the moment, Ruddo has an answer for Kent. But Kent's still right up close. This fight could be going up to the final lap. And in fact, we are on the final lap as Paz begins. And he's 3.4 clear. We've not had a lot of viewing of Paz in this second stint of the race. But he's just been cruising along out there and doing everything he needs to do. But the fight now, I think that we'll all be watching, is Ruddo and Kent. Kent closing up. He's got the DRS. Not much battery though to play with. He's going to go to the outside. Ruddo defends it nicely through that little bit of curb. Taking now the rest. Sliding around for Kent. But has it been too much? Kent, not enough to close up to the Ferrari. So he'll have to stay behind it for another few corners. Or can he close up? He's got one more main DRS opportunity out of 10. But he's all over that Ferrari. You can see the dirty air dragging that Williams offline.
Yeah, he's pushing, isn't he? He's really pushing to try and find his way past the Ferrari, but it's going to take something brave.
Here, though. Ooh, I was going to say he was having a look on the Ferrari. Ooh, a little bit of contact, though. But now deploys everything he's got. Again, not enough traction. Rudder actually on 2-lap older tyres, but he's doing a good job. And he stays ahead here, but I think we need to see the man out in the front.
We do.
And that's Pars.
Here he comes around the final corner for his first victory in Invictus Racing League. It's Pars who takes it on Tier 2 debut from Hulkenberger, who put in a spirited effort. We will cut to O. Stephen because Kent is trying to find a word for him, but he's not going to get there. O. Stephen, what a drive this is. My driver of the day, personally. O. Stephen is going to come across the line for a brilliant podium in third. Ruddo is going to fend off Kent in the end for fourth and fifth. But it's going to be a 10-second time penalty for that speeding in the pit lane. So Nitrogash takes fifth. Ginger will take sixth. It's the Cat holds off Clips Kiri in the end, so we'll be delighted with a seventh place result. Clips takes 8th, Kent ends up in 9th, Matty Rudd is 10th, Bearer will be 11th, no, he'll be 10th because of Matty Rudd's time penalty, but we'll check that one out in the stewards, and DJ Madman will get the final point. So Spud Darrell will be 13th and 14th, it'll be DXT Matty in 15th place, who we haven't seen much of tonight in the Red Bull, but he is going to get across the line, and the IRC McLarens in 16th and 17th, but those two I'm sure just picking up the data that they need to do for the season ahead. Watch those two with interest over the coming rounds as IRC Bruce tries to bin it into the wall. It looked like it from the last glimpse of the camera angle I got, I could be wrong, but JPH rounds the final corner here for the opening race of season 22.
Yeah, that's 1 out of 8 completed. I said it with Jordan last season, the season can just go by in a blink. And we've already completed our first race. But this man, he's going to want to take his time with this one because he's on the top set of the podium. And what a way to start. Yeah, brilliant drive from him. And he'll take that trophy.
He did say, to be fair, before the racing started, he did say he's happy to race in Tier 1, and I think a lot of the drivers would be like, yeah, that'd be great, considering the performance he showed tonight.
Wouldn't be surprised if we see a few protests, potentially, with the pace he's had, but yeah, no, he's done everything he needed to do tonight, and victory for him.
Yeah, fastest lap going his way. Driver of the day going to O. Stephen, and cleanest driver as well, which he deserves. But we'll quickly run through the provisional race standing. It's Pars taking a debut victory with Invictus Racing League of Hulkenberger and O. Stephen brilliantly rounding off the podium. Ruddo and Nitrogash are inside the top 5 with Ginger Tiger, It's the Cat, Clips Kiri, Kent and Bearer inside the top 10. Matty Rudd and Madman scoring the last points. So Spud, Darrell, Matty, Bruce and JPH all seeing the checkered flag, and a nightmare start for the Saubers as both Lionel Griesby and Mikey RK13 retiring from the race. And I'm sure everyone will be dusting themselves down in the post-race chat because that was great. There was so much action, and we didn't really know how this was going to work out until maybe the last 6 or 7 laps.
Yeah, the split strategies really made it a tough order to keep an eye on everyone. You just simply didn't know what was going to happen. And yeah, no, you only find out once that checkered flag waves. And yeah, no, but yeah, I think just seeing how the pace and the action, pretty clean race tonight as well, which was nice to see. No safety cars or VSCs popping up. So just pure racing, and that's what we're here for. But now we head over to Spain next week, and yeah, no, I think not too different on setup wise, maybe a little bit more downforce, but it's still Spain is the circuit of Barcelona has always been a brilliant watch. Maybe not in the Formula One, real world Formula One sense of things, but definitely in IRL it has been. Yeah,
it definitely has. It's a really good track for a lot of people. Stephen asking if we're doing interviews. We aren't, unfortunately, Stephen. I'd love to I'd love to chat with you. But I tell you what, Stephen, if you've got a chance, you've got 2 minutes to just put a quick comment in, whether it's via Discord or via YouTube, to talk about how happy you are with the race, because I think it was a brilliant effort and well-deserved podium for yourself. I think there was a lot of fighting going on around the field. I was just looking at a few comments from the drivers in the respective Tier 2, or EP2 I should say, but Kent was saying he had no tyre wear really at the end, he wasn't going to catch up, and Hulkenberger was saying he forgot to save the footage and switched his console off, so if he's got any issues heading forward, the stewards will be reprimanding him for that one, which is less than ideal.
Yeah, I can't lie. I've also done that. So yeah, we've all done that, but I think Hulkenberger pretty much stayed out of trouble throughout that race. So hopefully nothing needed from the stewards. But yeah, no, I think regardless, Hulkenberger is just happy with the result, and yeah, nothing really will be too dramatic if anything comes his way. But yeah. Yeah, so I mean, I can't believe now we go into the next round, Spain.
Yeah, Barcelona is a really good track, as we've already noted. I think it's one where there's one big opportunity for a driver to make an overtake, which is into turn 1, but it feels possible as a result of the changes, or the re-changes that they made to the final couple of corners on the circuit. So we'll see how the drivers navigate that. Stephen has said, well, I'm ecstatic because I won't get another podium this season. I made the one stop work, and he had 85% tyre wear at the end.
Well, that's 15% unused then. 15% left. You're not maximising it then. No, but I wouldn't say that. I think with the pace he showed tonight, I think there's every bit of chance. I mean, there's always chance to pick up podiums, wins, and just great points. But with the pace he showed tonight, I think he's definitely up for contention for more.
Yeah, why not? If he can make those one-stop strategies work, then it's all to play for. Maybe we'll see him battling in the podium again later on this season. But that's it from us, because we could ramble on all night long. I'm sure we'd both love to, of course, but hey, you've only got a limited amount of time in the day to watch us, ladies and gentlemen. So from Mayara, it's good night.
Yeah, good night all, and well, yeah, stay tuned next week, and yeah, we'll bring on Spain.
It's good night from me, Jack TM53, and wherever you might be in the big wide world, have a good one, and we'll see you on Monday for Tier 1 action around Barcelona.